Hockey Happy Hour is live. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn on those notifications. Let's go talk some puck, boys.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Left, feet left.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah! What the fuck are you talking about?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour right here live on A2DRadio.com. I am Manson. Don't let the logo fool you. And I'm along with the Darkwing Brian Daly.
What up?
And the Broken One, Rob Povia.
And why aren't you in uniform?
We are here once again live on A2DRadio.com, here to break down the Pacific Division and talk about all the happenings going on in the NHL. And we'll also be talking about what's happening with the Flyers, because a couple of things did happen. But before we get into any of that, we have our sponsors. First off, as you see at the bottom, our show sponsor, Body Check Wellness, created by former Philadelphia Flyers enforcer and Phantoms enforcer as well, Riley Cote. If you use that promo code A2D, you get 25% off the products. And what is Body Check Wellness? Well, it is a line of products that use hemp. However, though, they also have THC-free products as well, which are topicals, ointments, gummies, edibles. They've got all that stuff for you, and they are to focus in clarity, balance, and also for, helping you if you want to get on a diet or what have you, just get things in order in life, because sometimes life is, makes your head spin, go a million miles an hour. Sometimes it's very hard to keep things on track. This is a line of products to help you do that, help you to kind of get yourself into that and you're like, you know what? I know what I got to do. I can take care of it. I've got this. And that's basically what it's all about, basically. So, Body Check Wellness, 25% off on that A2D code right there. All right. Gentlemen, today our question on the Twitter poll is, the Seattle Kraken can win the Pacific Division? That is brought to you by All Campus OC. They're giving 20% off of everything in the store, including hats, shirts, and team cornhole sets for all subscribers. So get subscribed as soon as possible, because that's what's going to make you have your team colors with pride. All Campus OC, John Coyle, great guy running that, and do a lot of great stuff here for A2D.
Yeah, John Coyle's the man. Parker, we'll go fishing. I'm off Mondays and Tuesdays for the next couple of weeks, so you just let me know when, bud.
So, gentlemen, the Seattle Kraken can win the Pacific Division. What's up, Chucks?
Chuck's my guy.
What's your guys' opinions on that? Can they or will they not?
I'll jump in first real quick, Brian. This is short and simple. Absolutely disagree. I really think when it comes to Pacific Division, it's really the Vegas Golden Knights and then everybody else. They're just head and shoulders above the rest of the division. And specifically for the Kraken, they didn't really draft for the purposes of win now. It's win later. They built a very low blue collar roster. They did some trading to kind of improve from the level that they established during that expansion draft, but not quite at the level where they could compete with some other teams that we'll be covering who could be knocking on the door of the top three in the division.
Yeah, I'm with you, Robbie. I strongly disagree with this. I don't think they really drafted well enough. I think they did a good job, but Vegas is the team to beat in this division. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think, to your point, they're building for the future. They're not building like Vegas did to make an impact right out of the gate. They're going to make an impact down the road. They're building for a bigger picture, a longer term run, and I don't see anybody in this division right now still beating Vegas. This is still their division to lose. A lot of these other teams are gonna have some bounce back years. I think going back to normal now, and with some of the changes that they've made on the roster. So this is going to be tough for Seattle. This is going to be a tough division if you're one of the top 4, top 5 teams.
Yeah. And we got Mike Parker chiming in. The NHL expansion allows for a team to be good right out of the gate. We've already seen that with the Golden Knights. He went on to say, agree to the poll question there at the very end of that. So,
I mean, I see Spidey's point. I do, because I mean, Vegas came right out of the gate and got to Stanley Cup final. Like, they want to build these markets almost right out of the gate. So I get where Spidey's coming from, but I just don't think Seattle drafted the same way that Vegas did, and I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, we got Tom saying, "Yo, what's up, Tommy?"
Yeah.
Then we also have Mike saying, "Obviously, I have no idea how they have drafted. I'll let Daly persuade me. Daly knows."
Yes, he does.
All right, then. So, the Pacific Division, it should be an interesting one to talk about. But before we get into that, though, we got a little bit of news and tidbits from the Flyers here, keeping it centric to the main team of the Hockey Happy Hour. And we are going to dive into the minor deal. Derek Brassard, 1 year depth deal, coming in from the Islanders, now joining the Philadelphia Flyers here. Should be interesting to see him on the orange and black instead of the orange and blue this time in the Metropolitan. And then to finish it up, the big deal. Sean Couturier extended 8 years and getting $7 million over the course of those years. So, gentlemen, what are your feelings on this one? Because just when you thought the Flyers were going to cool down, they pull themselves right back up. They signed Derek Broussard, and then they extend Sean Couturier. What are you guys feeling on that?
Well, I mean, you kind of knew the Couturier extension was coming at some point, so better to get it done now before the season starts, before it becomes a distraction in his head and affects his gameplay, because that can happen. Players in every sport, they don't like having that 1 year deal hanging over their head, especially if it's a place where they want to be. So getting Coots' deal done before the season starts is a good thing. Gets a distraction out of the way. It's something you don't have to worry about for the next essentially 9 years. He definitely signed a little bit cheaper than I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to get 8+, maybe closer to 9. But, he said apparently that he didn't want to handcuff the team, which is great, because that means he's putting the team first. And it's huge. And as for Derek Brassard, that was kind of out of nowhere. But I think he will be a very good bottom six, probably your third-line winger. But he will help the power play. He does still have pretty good vision. He can pass the puck. He can create some offense. So I think he'll wreak a little bit of havoc more on special teams than he will even strength.
Absolutely, and he comes in and he adds to the chemistry that's building on this team. They brought in Cam Atkinson for Jake Voracek, who has a history with Kevin Hayes. Now Derek Brassard has a history with both Cam Atkinson and Kevin Hayes. So I really feel that that's going to make it an even more tighter-knit group, maybe shoring up some of those cracks that we saw last year in that foundation. So, yeah, terrific bottom six guy, tons of experience, love the 1 year deal, bringing him in to contribute on the bottom six there for the Flyers. With Coots, I mean, he came out and said he had no interest in testing free agency, and he really is trying to do something that I don't think has ever been done with the Flyers, certainly is rare in the NHL, and that's to begin your career as an 18 and 19-year-old, potentially finish it with the same team. With this deal, he serves that out. That's what's going to happen.
Let's go.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, I've said it before, and I still believe this. I think Coots, while Giroux's here, he's got it. But when Giroux steps down, I think Coots is the next captain. Honestly, I've said it before. I know sometimes people have disagreed with me on that, but you know what? I'm still not backing down on that. That'll be a hill I'll choose to die on. I think Coots is the next captain of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Well, Matty, this deal supports your theory there, and I support it as well. Basically, this puts him in line to be the next Flyers captain, whenever that should be. And, because certainly takes away from potential, there are some rumblings that, G might, not finish his career as a Flyer now because of, money eating up through the salary cap. Well, we don't know what that's going to be in a few years. You know what I mean? When the flat cap will be raised. So it's a little premature to be talking like that. That's coming from, people are trying to run out of town for the past couple of years now. So that those sources right there. But when it comes to Sean Couturier, definitely has that leadership skill, both on and off the ice, both with vocally as well as, by example through his play.
Yeah, I absolutely agree on that one. We got Jake chiming in. What's up, Jake? Based on the success the Golden Knights had their first year, I'm going to agree with the poll. And we got Wills saying, what's up? What's up, Wills?
Billy Vegas.
Yeah, you can check out Wills and Tom on Agree to Disagree on Sundays. And boy, oh boy, even if you're not a fan of the other three major sports, it's still a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Put the women and children to bed.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
And Mike saying, Jake sees where I'm coming from. I'm a casual hockey guy, and the Knights are a very good, quick, clean example. Well, the funny part is the Golden Knights are the exception to the rule. The Golden Knights were the exception to the expansion rule of usually an expansion team is not very good right out of the gate. It takes a few years for them to get better. Some teams a little shorter than others. An example would be, we'll be talking about them in the Pacific Division, but the Ducks. The Ducks came into the league in the mid-'90s. They weren't good at the very beginning, but it didn't take too long for them to get into a rhythm and be a competitive team. By the early 2000s, they were right in the thick of it every year.
Yep. They're actually probably one of the better examples, to be honest with you. And to Tom's point here, he says he doesn't think that they have the talent that Vegas has. I don't disagree to that. Actually, I agree to it pretty. It's just, again, two different styles of drafting. Vegas went into the expansion draft ready to draft and win at that moment in time. They went out and they got guys like Marc-Andre Fleury. They eventually traded for Mark Pacioretty. They got William Karlsson on his breakout year. They took Shea Theodore from Anaheim. They went out and they put together a roster to win at that moment. And then they kept adding to it, and they kept making changes to it. They brought in a Max Pacioretty. They brought in Alex Pietrangelo. They brought in Alec Martinez. They are absolutely putting themselves in. They put themselves in a position to win from the jump. The Kraken, not so much. They drafted a lot of youth. They're drafting to, like I said, they're drafting to look at the bigger picture too, not necessarily maybe win for the first 2 or 3 years. They're looking to put something really good together to really build a fan base, a good support system, and to put a continued good product out on the ice for the fans of Seattle. And I think that's something that they deserve for sure. What's up, Priz?
Hey, Priz. What's going on, brother? I know he's asking what the poll is. Let me bring that guy back up here for him. And there you go, Priz. The Seattle Kraken can win the Pacific Division. Agree or disagree? So not just Priz, anybody out there who's watching right now, feel free to give your opinion. I know, like I said, we had Jake and we had Mike and Tom giving their opinions on that. So feel free to throw that out whenever you get a chance.
Also, we want to know what you're drinking out there. Since we're coming at an earlier hour, a little hour closer to happy hour, we promote you to join us with a beverage. I myself have a Bloody Mary because this earlier time slot damn near seems like morning. Yeah, cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Boom.
And let's see, we got Frank saying, hey, yo, it's time. It's like I haven't seen you in forever. Let's get specific in the Pacific. To answer the poll, I disagree. I'd give them a couple years. They have a young team that needs to gel.
And they got, like I said, they got some great pieces. They took Hayden Fleury. They took Yanni Gourde, who's going to be a good leader. They took one, in my opinion, he took Mark Giordano. I'm very surprised by that move. And he's a great leader to help gel that young defense that Seattle is going to have. Cheers, Parker.
Cheers, brother. Enjoy Buffalo Wild Wings.
Let us know if you see Menry.
All right, gentlemen. So now that we got the Flyers news out of the way, let's take a look at the Pacific Division. So obviously not last year. Last year the Pacific Division was just the West Division. And the year before, the Vegas Golden Knights were the top team, as was probably going to be considered, even after the season got cut off and we had to go to the bubble. Really didn't matter. If it had been finished out, I think we probably could have said Vegas was probably going to win. However, though, is there a possibility that, maybe we don't see a replay? I know, Rob, you were talking about it before, where it just seems like it's Vegas and everybody else. Why don't we start with them? We might as well get the big elephant out of the room. Let's start with the one that everyone talks about because they're the dominant force right now in the Pacific Division. Is this team impregnable in this division? Or is there any way that they could be taken advantage of? Because is there a weakness that, they have?
So I think they do have a weakness now, and I think that's going to be a net. I do like Robin Leonard, and I think he's been pretty good over the last couple of years, but they've always had Marc-Andre Fleury to fall back on. They don't have the Flower anymore. Traded him off to Chicago, which he turns out he probably will wind up playing for the Blackhawks, which is going to be really weird to see. They're not making many changes to this roster. In fact, they actually brought back two names that they should have, and that's Alec Martinez and Matthias Janmark. So both those guys are coming back to Vegas. My question is more along the lines of, can they get over the hump? They're getting to the playoffs, they're getting to the second round, they're getting to the Western Conference Finals. What do they have to do to get over the hump? I don't necessarily think it's anything specific. I think a lot of it has to do with coaching. Because they haven't been as good since replacing Gerard Gallant. And that's just my opinion, because Peter DeBoer has had a record or has a history of falling short when games tend to get a little bit bigger. The other thing that I need to know, I need to figure out here, and this will help determine how far they go, is Nolan Patrick. Two things. One, can they get a deal done? Because right now he's considered he's an RFA, so they need to get him under contract. Two, can he rebound off of the past couple of years that he had? Because outside of the migraines last year, he just did not perform well. So he does deserve a little bit of a pass on that because he is recovering from that. Really does, if he's not 100%, it really does take a toll. It really does affect the play. But as far as Vegas goes, I really think they are the team to beat. Some of these other teams maybe we can consider are going to come a little close to Vegas, but they're just a dominant team that's built to win and built to dominate, and they're going to continue to do so, especially in a division with mostly rebuilding teams.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brian. Net is probably could be the one weakness, when you trade away the face of your franchise, which sounds weird to say of such a young franchise, but Marc-Andre Fleury has been that face. Will they get consistent play in the net that he provided? They also lost forwards Thomas Nosek, Cody Glass, Ryan Reeves, which being C-level players. Ryan Reeves created that toughness. You didn't come and F with them in their house. So will teams maybe take advantage of that? Defenseman Nick Holden also departed. But I think the answer is that they've still gotten better because they added Yevgeny Dadonov. You guys know I've always been a fan of his game. I think now that he goes to a winning situation there out in the desert, I predict that we will see him take his game back to that early career form. They brought in Brent Howden. You mentioned Matthias Janmark before and Nolan Patrick. If they can get him signed, and maybe him show some promise that he showed in glimpses last year with the Flyers. Certainly not per his draft position, but if he can get even back to that, which quite often former Flyers do when they're traded away. So, I think the core is still there. It's a strong core. Max Pacioretty, Mark Stone, newly acquired last year, Alex Pietrangelo. They're the class of the division, man.
No, absolutely. And the one thing that about Nolan Patrick is, he's surrounding himself with elite talent, and not saying anything bad about guys like Drew or Voracek or Couturier or anything like that, but he's putting himself around some really good leaders and some really good vets to help him take that next step, which I think is something that he was lacking in Philadelphia, which is why we didn't really necessarily see him take that next step. But having guys like you said, Mark Stone specifically, is going to be huge for his development, I think. And then Pietrangelo is another captain. Max Pacioretty was another captain. There's leadership all over this roster for Vegas, and they're a flat out tough team to beat.
Prism saying that the LTIR team should offer Sheet Patrick a contract. Real familiarity there. Natural fit. That kid, though.
Yeah.
Hope he stays healthy. And he did disagree to the poll. So Prism does not believe that the Kraken will win the division this year. So for me personally, I look at the Golden Knights, and while they are a step ahead of most teams, I would say, though, I think, Brian, you definitely brought up, in my opinion, the glaring issue, and that's goaltending. We talked about before where it's like, okay, how can this team – is this team good, to handle itself with and without Fleury? It seemed like they did with Leonard, but then after that, they went back to him for the playoffs. Then Fleury kind of imploded in that Montreal series. Also, Montreal shut down the Golden Knights offense, which is weird to say. But, it's with the combination of those things that resulted in the team once again getting to the equivalent of a conference final and missing the Stanley Cup Finals again. It's one of those things of, are the Golden Knights as impregnable as they appear to be? I think that definitely they're not. But in terms of this division, comparing them to the other teams, I can see why most people would pretty much have them taking the division. That doesn't necessarily mean playoff success, but they could be, during the regular season, the dominant team in the Pacific once again.
Real quick, I just got to point out, we go at an earlier time slot, and Maddie's over here busting out the $10 million words. Impregnable? I can't even pronounce it. Well done.
Thank you. The word of the day calendar is really working well for me.
I mean, he would have been able to do it last week, but he decided he wanted to, freeze up 7 times and pretty much leave me on my own.
It's all right, though. It was a test. You handled it very well.
Of course I did.
Rocking the vocab, but Wi-Fi 1, Manson Sudi 0.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi definitely won last week.
They did. Wi-Fi is a good team. Very formidable force. It's pretty bad. But you know what also is a formidable force? A2D Radio. And I just want to show you guys a little something. See that little logo that you see at the bottom there on Prism's name? That means he's an A2D member, and that is absolutely worth taking advantage of because you get perks. You get $9.99 a month. The perks include appearances on shows. We did have Prism on here. We can have anybody on here that wants to be, if they are a member. You can get shout-outs, weekly sports picks from the Money Pot Podcast, and Willie Vegas. So whichever one you want to go to, you should go to both, actually, quite frankly. And you'll be making a ton of money on the side as well. So absolutely check that out.
You're gonna be making whatever money and then some, off because of your membership. So you'll lose $9.99 a month, but you'll gain much more because of Nate Money Moss and Willie Vegas.
Absolutely. First, I'm saying I can't even spell Mississippi without spell check.
Been there.
Yeah.
Contact Rob Povia for all your editing needs.
You know what's bad? You know what's really, really bad? Like, I find myself trying to phonetically spell or just sound out like the most like stupid words. Like, I'll sit there and I'll just have a complete like blank of how to spell words like awful. I have a problem, boys. I rely too much on spell check and autocorrect.
That sounds awful.
It is. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Oh, All right, so on to our next team. Now, I figure we might as well talk about them because Prism did mention them in this comment. He said, Kings are my dark horse for the Cup. Not that I think they'll win it, but I wouldn't be surprised at all. Gentlemen, the LA Kings are an interesting one to look at, and I would say that they'll be fun to watch this year only because, you're kind of seeing a young team up and coming, and you're seeing some really strong talent there, and they're bringing in some players with some experience on top of it. What do you guys think we're going to see from the LA Kings this year?
You go first this time, Robbie.
Well, it's Kings are tough to predict what they'll do, man. Because for a little while there, they were challenging for a playoff spot in the reformulated conferences for the pandemic. But this is a team that could potentially make a push. They could have a strong hope in the new Pacific Division. With the expansion team and the Coyotes moving to the Central Division. But for a team that's in the rebuild, they've also added aging players. So it's weird what exactly they're trying to do right now. They acquired Victor Arvidsson from Nashville. They had free agent signings Philip Deneau and Alex Edler, which is going to make the Kings better and potentially a playoff team. They have the prominence in youngsters that are part of that rebuild, and the likes of Quentin Byfield and Alex Turcotte, Arthur Kaliev, I think, or Kaliev, I think is how you pronounce his name.
Kaliev, I think is how you pronounce it.
Oh, cool. I got one right for a change. Holy cow. I think, the key thing is integrating them and, utilizing their talent, but also not overwhelming them and relying on those veterans. You know what I mean? Give them a little taste, a little bit, like kind of how we described with Cam York for the Flyers, where you keep him in a starting role with the Phantoms, but you definitely continue to get his beak wet in the NHL. Excuse the pun, Brian.
Don't take it.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely. I can't wait to talk about the Ducks here soon. But, the Kings, Southern California has been sort of in the doldrums, in this division in the NHL. And I think there's some hope there. I don't think the Kings will get there, but they have a chance to still make some noise. I like these additions. Despite it being confusing. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. Because I'm right there with you. I think they definitely take a step forward this year for sure, just because of the veterans that they've added. Like you said, Arvidsson, Deneau. The one you did forget to mention, which I think is going to be kind of an X factor a little bit, is Andre Athanasiou, signed with the Kings.
Right.
And then just bringing in the veteran leadership of Alex Edler is going to help that defense, that young core defense. But yeah, the young stars of this organization have to take the next step now that they've brought in some of these vets. Guys that have been around, guys that understand the game, the speed of the game, and that can really take some of these guys like Quentin Byfield under their wings and just go, get them to that next level. The thing that with the Kings for me, that whether or not they really take that next step forward is going to come down to goaltending. I know they have a young guy getting ready to come up. But it's going to rely on Jonathan Quick. He's aging a little bit. Hasn't really been a Jonathan Quick of that Stanley Cup playoff push that they had over 2012 to, I believe, 2015, 2016. He's going to need to find some kind of a time machine and kind of age down a little bit, get back to that dominant form that he was in. Doesn't necessarily need to be all-star form, but good enough for them to get some wins, some stuff to build off of, some chemistry, some positive things going their way. I think they are closer to a playoff team than most people are probably going to think because of specifically just this offseason. I thought that they did a great job this offseason. I thought they did a great job in the draft. The defenseman they took in the first round is going to be a really good young defenseman for the Kings organization, and I think they're taking the steps in the right direction. How quickly everything gels together and they can find that coach to get them to that next spot. It's going to be a question. That's the big question. And again, I think the Kings are going to be. honestly, I think the Kings could be 10 wins better than they were 2 years ago. 10 to 15 wins better than they were 2 years ago. Like I said, I thought they had a great offseason. I think they're going to take steps forward this year. I think they're definitely not finishing in the cellar, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, sure. So we got Greg. What's up, Greg? Chiming in. I disagree with the poll. Expansion teams are definitely better than they used to be, but don't have enough yet. And Joey saying, I'm just like John Cena. You can't see me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Joey. My camera, for some reason, doesn't want to turn on. I don't know why. Didn't find it out until like 2 seconds before I jumped into the studio. And then Prism.
You win some, you lose some, and then you lose some more.
Listen, if this is the trade-off for me to be able to stay connected on here, you know what? I will trade the camera not working, being able to stay connected. I think it's a fair trade. Anyway.
We want to hear your pearls of wisdom, Maddie.
If I have any. Prism saying, I believe Cal Peterson is going to have a bounce-back year.
Yeah. Cal's not a bad goaltender, and they're putting a lot of stock into this kid. Trading Jack Campbell to Toronto last year or 2 years ago. I forget when that trade went down, but it was Cal Peterson is going to be the future goaltender for that franchise whenever Jonathan Quick decides he's done.
All right. So for me, I think the Kings, I'm kind of in the same ballpark with them. It's like if things are going right for them, cards fall into the right play and they play the hand properly, they could conceivably fight hard for a wild card spot. I don't know if they have a third place spot in them. But I would say that if things do go right for them, maybe they snag a wild card spot. If they do, I think that that's a huge thing for them because that's ahead of schedule, in my opinion. But I would say that, in terms of their development, holy shit, that's like taking 7 or 8 steps ahead of where you are most likely going to be this year. So, and that would be great for the Kings, in their development, because it seems like they've been fast tracking themselves as quickly as possible to get back into the competitive side of things.
Yeah, I don't think they're far out. Like I said, I think they're on the brink of starting to make their way back into winning form. And as a Ducks fan, I hate saying that, but it's the truth. Like I said, I thought they had a pretty good offseason. I like who they brought in. I like who they have as far as young talent that's already on the roster, that's already starting to really take the steps forward. And to Priz's point, Adrian Kempe definitely needs to take a step forward. He is going to be a huge part of the success of that organization moving forward. Just like Byfield and Turcotte and even still Kopitar right now, who's going to remain a King probably for the remainder of his career. Drew Doughty. They need to figure out how to plug in the young guys and bring in the veteran leadership and kind of figure out how a way to make it mix well. And I think they'll be okay. Like I said, I think they're the biggest X factor in whether or not the Kings can be successful. And I'll let everybody out there decide whether or not how they want to define a successful season for the Kings is going to be falling on the shoulders of Jonathan Quick, unfortunately.
We got Prism saying Stars missing Jack Campbell now. They drafted him in the first round, and now they're praying Bishop is healthy and Holtby is just a training camp body.
Unfortunately, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Holtby winds up with who's the Stars affiliate still? Is it still the Houston Aeros? Or is that the Texas Stars? I forget which one.
I think it's the Texas Stars.
I think he could be fit. I think he could be fit for a straight jacket.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty much all the goalies. We all know that there's some interesting people out there.
Yeah, but some are more head cases than others. And Brandon Nolte he might be having that crown. And the bracket players right now.
Yeah. Texas Stars. Where's that one? We can put them into the white rubber room next to Carter Hart.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying any better. You know what I mean? He had the pandemic blues, the press job.
That's all right though. He should be cleared. He'll be medically cleared by the beginning of the season. Anyway, on to.
I'm just saying, Taryn Hatcher, take one for the team, man. Take care of him. All right, that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. Don't let him feel lonely. Don't let him slip into the doldrums again. We start seeing poor play. You know, help him under the table. You know, people helping people. Let's go.
Listen. If Carter Hart doesn't want to do it, I'll take one for the team.
Listen, we have been waiting so long for a cup. It's like, Taryn, do what you got to do. We'll love you forever for it, and Carter will definitely love you forever for it.
Feels so good.
Yeah, forget that. Forget the selflessness. I'm going to be selfish when it comes to Taryn Hatcher. That's my girl, man.
She's apparently been doing the Phillies games recently. But anyway.
Yep, she does. She's doing a lot of things for NBC Philly.
Gotcha. I'm pretty sure she kind of feels like, oh, is this what the Phillies broadcasts are like? Depressing? Like, yes, this is exactly what they're like.
Watch your mouth. They're not that depressing.
Come on. Can't make a joke about the most losingest team in baseball. Anyway. All right. Yeah. Wait a minute. I thought they were.
No.
That would be the Baltimore Orioles, my friend.
There you go.
Well, then
Phillies are fighting for a playoff spot, dude.
Well, then why?
You're listening to the conjecture, Matty. You know, the Phillies lose 2 games in a row, and the Phillies fans instantly turn on them.
No. Wait, I was
thinking winning 7 or 8 in a row. Oh,
no,
man,
I wasn't talking about the season. I was talking about all time.
Oh, all time.
Yeah, all time. Yeah, I wasn't talking about this season. I know this season they've been competing.
No,
It just hasn't gone perfectly for them, apparently.
No, all time. That your argument is very, very true, my friend.
Let's not talk about all time.
Hey.
All right, on to
First and only team with 10,000 losses, I believe.
Yep. I like losers too, Brian. Don't worry about it.
Oh, it's all right. Trust me, the Flyers are a perfect example of a team that can't get shit done neither. So there you go. Anyway, on to the next one. Let's see here. So we go from the Kings, and why don't we dive into the other Hockey Happy Hour team, because we've been putting it off for way too long now. Let us talk about the beloved Anaheim Ducks, who unfortunately over the last few years they've been rebuilding, and so it's been some lean years for them. However, though, there is talent there that has been showing itself, and there is a future that is getting brighter for the team. So the question is, gentlemen, how long do you think it'll be before the Ducks are ready to compete for wild card or divisional spots?
75 years.
Well, that's fair.
No, I mean, it's tough to say because Bob Murray is an idiot and for some reason didn't want to do anything this offseason to help the rebuild at all. The good news is, though, they did re-sign players that they needed to re-sign. So they got Max Comtois back under contract, Josh Mahara, Max Jones, Isaac Lundestrom, all guys are going to be a part of the new nucleus moving forward. One thing about Anaheim is something that I don't understand why they're not doing yet is letting veterans go to inject some youth. And it's time for Anaheim to do that. It's time to see what they have. We know Zegras, Drysdale's up. We need to see what they have in Jacob Perreault. There's a couple other guys that are down in the AHL that need to have a shot here. One of them is Braden Tracy. Braden Tracy was one of those guys that was thought to be a pretty good goal scorer when he was drafted, and not yet has he found a spot to fill a roster need. So now's the time to do that. I can't. It frustrates me as a fan because they have no sources of offense, no sources of goal scoring, and they do nothing about it. They do nothing to try and fix that. It's like the last 4 or 5 years, they've been in the bottom of the league in goal scoring, bottom of the league in points. It's ridiculous. It's really getting old. Jonathan Gibson's getting to the point where he's over it. He's going to want out soon, probably. I wouldn't surprise me within the next year or two if he demands he wants to be traded.
I heard the rumors that he was asking for it this past season, but I don't know if that's true or not. It's just rumors. But
I heard the rumors too. I think he's denied it. I think he wants to feel it out. But in the same breath, Bob Murray is doing nothing to speed this process along. We have plenty of youth. We have plenty of guys in the pipeline. It's time to really start injecting the youth into this organization and seeing what you have. You know you're not going to compete this year. You're probably not going to compete next year. You're probably not going to compete the year after that. So why not see what you have? Put these guys in the lineup. I mean, we know, like I said, we know Zegers is probably going to be in the lineup. We know Drysdale is going to be in the lineup. We know Jones and all the other guys that I've said are going to be in the lineup. You bring back Getzlaf on a 1-year deal. Rumors of Raquel being traded. Rumors of Henrique being traded. If you're going to start making some of these moves to open up spots for guys in the lineup, they have to do that now before training camp, so these guys have time to gel. If not, then just rock with what you have. But they have to put something together here. They have to figure out a way to win some hockey games. They got to figure out ways, more specifically, to score more goals. They can't afford to be one more year at the bottom of the barrel in offense.
What's up, Pete?
The only way I can see things going badly is if they want to tank and try and get Shane Wright, which I'm not completely opposed to, because Shane Wright is a ridiculous player. Kid's a flat-out stud. Just frustrating right now being a Ducks fan, because I know what they need to do, and they're taking their time doing it. And I think it might be time to get rid of Bob Murray. I think he's the biggest issue with this rebuild. I think if they can get rid of him, they'll be just fine.
Well, he didn't have a good reputation when he already, so it's kind of he's kind of just living up to it at this point and being consistent.
I mean, yeah, but at the same breath, like, yeah, he won us a Stanley Cup. That's all well and good. That was what, 14, 15 years ago now?
Yeah, it was 07.
It's time to move on.
Yeah.
He's taking his time with the rebuild, and it's not good. There's so much young talent in this Anaheim organization that it's getting wasted. It's getting wasted. It's like Eichel in Buffalo. There's so much talent here, but it's all getting wasted because we're rebuilding longer than we need to.
True. But Prism said he was going to ask how long a leash does Bob have. I don't know if we necessarily need to ask that.
Honestly, I see where we are come January, February. If they're not in good shape, get them out.
I would say it's about as thin as a wire and about as strong as a nerd's rope. It isn't very sturdy. And if someone decides to nibble at it, that's it. Anyway.
The thing is it's similar to the Flyers organization where Smallies are a little too loyal to certain people, and I think it's time to start breaking some loyalty here and realizing that you have to put the franchise first as an owner instead of, being loyal to the guys who've won you a cup 15 years ago.
It's weird, though, because, he did trade Corey Perry away. And so you would think, like, okay, well, he wasn't afraid of trading him away. So why is he afraid of letting somebody like Getzlaf walk? And not to say that Getzlaf needs to walk. It's just one of those things of, well, why not just have that spot open for somebody else? And again, that's not a knock on Getzlaf, obviously. Team captain, and he was a perennial all-star every year. He pretty much, I think, Brian, you would agree, he was the face of the Ducks organization for the past decade. So, yeah. So it's like, it's like, okay, it's like you were saying, it's time to move on. Maybe let him walk and then see if he wants to go chase a cup somewhere while you go ahead and put somebody in that spot, see what you got. And also, another question I want to throw out there to you, Brian. Would you be against them trading away Raquel and Henrique by the trade deadline?
Depends on where they are position-wise. I think both of those guys are probably going to be gone. Henrique specifically, because I know they're pushing to trade him a little bit. I know Josh Manson is probably going to be another name that's probably going to get moved. Apparently, he has a partial no movement clause, 12 teams, that he can waive his no trade clause for. He had a deal set up with Winnipeg to trade Manson over there. he didn't want to go. So that's another name that's out there that could be on the move. And as for Perry was bought out. He wasn't traded.
Oh, he was bought out. Well, still, it was still a move on though from a guy from that era. So but again, it's like you show no fear with one, and yet you're keeping the other one around. It's inconsistent. That's not something you want to do there in this particular.
Well, I mean,
situation.
the one you got to keep in mind, Getzlaf's the captain. He is the face of the organization. He still is, and he still very much wants to be there.
True,
So
and
kind of at your point, like you got to kind of figure out a way to make it work for both ways, because again, that's your captain. That's a leader on and off the ice. He has a good repertoire with the referees throughout the league. He's got so much stuff he's got so many positive and pros to his game still that it's not like Corey Perry, where he pretty much became kind of a shell of himself because of injuries.
Yeah, that's true. Because by the time they did buy him out, he wasn't exactly Corey Perry anymore.
No, and Getzlaf is still producing. He just needs the right line mates with him.
True.
He can still rack up 30, 40 assists in a year.
I still say you guys, though, shouldn't have gotten rid of the ice cream man. You should have kept Hakanpää. You really should have.
He was on a 1-year deal anyway.
I would have kept him just to have the jersey and for it to be relevant. I literally would. Anyway.
Go get it. He's a star now. It'll give you an excuse to go get a North Stars jersey.
That's a good point, actually. I do need to get myself one of those. Anyway. All right. So, Joey, I don't know if I want to see that Stanley Cup final. I don't know if the show can take it. I think the show would be on life support after that.
I mean, there's not much worse that we can say to each other that we haven't already.
All right, maybe. Good point. That's a good point, actually. But
we've gone at it for less.
That's true. That's a good point. I will say, though, that the Ducks and the Flyers, I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, because I really don't want to have to talk bad about the Ducks. I really don't. I honestly don't. But
that's right. I do it all the time.
But and to be fair, though, what are the odds of that? You know what? Actually, now that Joey brings that up, watch that be the next time the Flyers get into the fucking finals. It is against the fucking Ducks. Watch that fucking happen. Anyway. Oh, God.
It would be fun, though. Two very similar style front offices, and then two pretty similar style teams.
True. And if that does happen, we're going to have to tell Tom, Tom, we need clearance on every single day of that series, because we got to do a live reaction for every game.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, there he is. I see you, Don. Don, where you been, bro?
Yo, Don.
2 weeks.
And Prism was talking about Hakanpää. Says I was calling him Hakuna Matata, making him, and now he's a star.
He's a solid, gritty, nasty little. I shouldn't say little. He's not little. Defenseman. I think you'll really enjoy him playing for you, Priz. I really do. I liked watching him play for Anaheim. I was a little upset when they traded for him too.
All right, gentlemen. So on to our next team on the docket here. And let's roll into, let's go to the Great White North. Let's head to Calgary. Let's go to the Flames. Boy, oh boy, what the fuck is up with them? So I'm going a little overboard here, but don't you think it's time that the Flames just say retool time? I feel like they kind of have to. It's like I'm not seeing anything from these guys. And maybe it was just a bad year. Maybe it was the COVID year that was causing the issue. But even before then, I'm not 100% sold on them. It's just something's not clicking there with this team. And every year it just seems like it's more pronounced. And then they manage to get something going for a little bit, but then it doesn't last. It seems like they're having a lot of trouble getting this rebuild finished up.
I disagree a little bit there, Matty. I mean, you're not wrong with the prologue, but in terms of moving forward, this is a Calgary team that made big changes after missing the playoffs, starting with losing 8-year captain Mark Giordano to Seattle. The other departures were really just small parts besides that Derek Ryan, Josh Lubio, but they brought in Blake Coleman, coming off the Cup win with Tampa. Trevor Lewis, they brought in old friend Tyler Pitlick to provide forward depth, and they also brought in defenseman Nikita Zadorov. I mean, this is a team that I really think can finish third in this division and get themselves back into the playoffs. I think the time is now for the Flames. We saw glimpses of that in the bubble, and we have to think about that as not that long ago. It's not exactly 2 seasons ago, as it appears in the books.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Robbie, I'm with you, man. I think this is just a team that's underachieving. I don't think you need to blow anything up. I don't necessarily think you need to do anything drastic. I think you need to get Jacob Markstrom back on track to where he was 2 years ago before he signed that contract with the Flames. You have to get Johnny Hockey back to being Johnny Hockey. He's been a little bit of the head case in Calgary. There's a lot going on with him. You bring in Blake Coleman, which I think is going to provide some decent goal scoring, especially on the second line there, which I think that they absolutely need. This is just a team that's underachieving, and I think a lot of it has to do with the culture in the locker room, and I think a lot of that starts with their head coach. I know things kind of got a little rough with Bill Peters before he was fired, and I just don't think he ever really rebounded, especially with the new head coach. Again, this is a team of underachievers. I just don't think they played well enough. So bringing in Nikita Zadorov, I think is going to be huge. On the blue line, they re-signed Dylan Dubé, who is one of the younger studs that I think they're really going to want to build around. We know how good this roster is. On paper, this roster is really good. I agree. This is a playoff team. They are underachieving, and they just have to find that consistency. I think that's been their biggest issue over the last couple of years, is finding some form of consistency as far as, just winning games, doing little things right. And, kind of like how the Phillies figure out ways to lose games. Flames did the same thing last year. They figured out ways to just lose games. If they can figure out ways to win games, they're going to be just fine. Like I said, this roster on paper is still very, very good.
Prism, by the way, said, Brian, Stars are cool. Habs are my grandma and mom's team, and I like them. But if anyone plays for me, it's in the greatest sweater to ever grace the history of the world. Well, I don't think you're a Coyotes fan. So thank you kindly on that one.
Well, I mean, he already played for the Ducks.
Yeah. And the Ducks did have some cool jerseys, so can't deny that.
Yeah, their 25th anniversary jersey is so sweet. I still love that jersey. A mixture of the modern and the vintage. It's perfect.
I mean, it's not like that butt ugly one they got in Chicago. I mean, that shit is just god awful.
Hercules.
Why do I always forget that he's a Blackhawks fan? I don't know why I always forget Prislo's a Blackhawks. Don, you were missed last week, man. Where were you? We were talking about the Red Wings. I was actually saying some really good things about the Red Wings.
All right, then. So, yeah, I mean, the Atlantic Division breakdown. Definitely go back and check that out. And you can watch me have a freaking seizure.
Then you watch me take control, and then it just kind of goes all out of control.
Chaos.
No, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Me and Frank rebounded nicely.
All right, then. So, gents, now that we've talked about the Calgary Flames on that one, and we now discuss the other team in Canada, a team that I think everyone should have a bone to pick with because, quite frankly, there's no fucking excuse for the way that they have absolutely fucked this up. And that is, of course, the Edmonton Oilers, the other blue and orange team in the league. You have Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, very, very heavily paid, which is understandable. A team that consistently tries to emphasize offense over defense, and lack of goaltending has murdered their hopes of ever really doing anything. And a perfect example was this past playoff. They got swept right out of the first fucking round. Even in games that looked like they were going to win, they lost to the Winnipeg Jets. So what the fuck do you do now? Like, seriously, it's like, oh my God. Like, I mean, I don't know what's worse, getting swept by the Winnipeg Jets, even when you had games won, or losing that series when you had it won to the Montreal Canadiens when you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm still debating this in my head, and I don't know if I'll ever have a fucking answer for it. But, gentlemen, what about Edmonton? Let's talk about Edmonton, since they'll probably place well in the division, but what the hell is that going to do if they can't even get out of the first fucking round?
What I'm still trying to figure out about this organization is why they're so high on Mike Smith.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I'm not quite understanding. And call me crazy, but I think they needed to address. Yeah, they need to address that. There's a guy who's still available that's a pretty damn good goaltender, probably a bona fide Hall of Famer, Tuukka Rask. And you go after Mike Smith.
That's a very.
I think that says a lot about that organization and what they're trying to do. I think they. My issue with this is I think they handcuffed themselves with some of those players, specifically Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and I don't know how much money they actually have to play with because of those two.
Right.
So they went out and they did make some moves. They got Zach Hyman from Toronto. I think it was a sign and trade. Tyson Barrie re-upped with Edmonton, who had a pretty solid year with the Oilers last year. I was actually very pleasantly surprised by that. And they went out and they got Warren Fogle from the Carolina Hurricanes, which I thought was a pretty good move. They need to find scoring depth. They really do. They need to stop relying so heavily on McDavid and Draisaitl. I mean, obviously these guys are 150 point a season guys. At least that's what it seems like. Well, let's be fair. In a normal season last year, they both would have had 150 points. I think
True.
McDavid went 100 and some odd points in 56 games. So, yeah, praise Duncan Keith as well. There's so many different questions for this team. Is depth scoring, where are you going to get it from? Which is probably why they bring in Hyman and they bring in Warren Fogle to try and help with that. Mike Smith, is he going to be the answer? Probably not, but it is what it is.
I'm surprised that it. I'm sorry, Ray, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was going to say, why didn't they get in on the Nedeljkovic shit? Since clearly Carolina was open to trading him, like, fuck it, why didn't you just get in on Nedeljkovic? You know, you could have paid him smaller amounts, and he's younger with some upside. Why the fuck didn't you just go after him? Seriously, there were answers here that you were better than Mike Smith. What the fuck?
Well, I think with Nedeljkovic, I think Detroit reached out about Nedeljkovic and they came to a deal. It wasn't that they were shopping him.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I mean, Prez, I get it. I mean, they definitely need more of that leadership, especially on the back end. But they still need the production as well. They're really only getting the production out of one line in the power play.
Right.
You know, they're relying too much on two guys. You know, you need more than that. This isn't like baseball where you can really heavily rely on a guy or two in the lineup to really be your more productive guys. You got to be able to roll four lines. You got to be able to rely on your defense and your goaltending. I think Edmonton's taken a step back this year, especially considering that they've decided to keep Mike Smith for some really unknown reason. He's going to be the downfall of that organization this year.
He must have some incriminating photos of upper management, I'm telling you. Because
he must have,
that's the only reason.
Especially after the way he played in the playoffs. He was not good.
Right.
It's just the owners and the operators just butt naked and slathered in Vaseline with pictures of Wayne Gretzky all over the wall. That's probably what it is. And Mike Smith's got that evidence.
My eyes. My God, my eyes.
And he's just going to leak it onto the internet if he isn't offered a contract, even if he plays shitty.
Gross. But
yeah, Brian, I mean, you're right, Brian. I mean, the Achilles heel of this team has been their depth. And I think it's huge that they added Hyman because what it's going to allow them to do is use McDavid and Draisaitl on separate lines now.
Hopefully. I mean, like I said, they got to figure out a way to spread it out.
Right, exactly. My soul just puked.
You're welcome, Prism.
You're welcome. Fogle and Ryan will help with that, just adding to that forward depth. Maddie, you said it, man. One playoff series victory since drafting Connor McDavid in 2015. One playoff series. I mean, it's putrid. And a lot of the fingers always been pointed towards the defense. And man, maybe the biggest loss of any team to the expansion draft was Adam Larson going to Seattle. That hurts them even more. Now, I mean, Duncan Keith, adding a veteran there is key. They also added Cody Ceci as well, who I'm a fan of his play. But they're likely going to be out without Oscar Klefbom all season due to injury. So that's going to be the real challenge, for this team. Can they play adequately defensively to keep their offense in the game? Will the offense be the best form of defense for them in terms of just outscoring teams? I mean, let's face facts. I mean, they are the front runners along with the Golden Knights for this division. So I mean, I still see them as a potential number 2 seed here. It's all going to depend on that balance. And can Mike Smith keep it together?
Yeah, I mean, as long as Mike Smith's in net, I think they're going to be the 4th team. Yeah. I think they're going to be a wild card team. I think they take a step back. I just don't think they're as good with Mike Smith in net as they would be with pretty much anybody else. Like I said, there's goaltenders out there. There's goaltenders available. Why are you sticking with 39, 40, 41-year-old Mike Smith? It makes no sense. McDavid, I believe, is 28.
He came in the same draft as Austin Matthews, I believe. So, however,
15,
yeah.
I'll verify that real quick.
And the only reason
a little younger then.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why Matthews didn't go number 1 was because Connor McDavid was in the same draft as him. That's the only reason why. That's the funny part.
Oh, yeah, I remember all the comparisons to, Gretzky and Lemieux. You know what I mean? And that's what these guys were built to be, the next ones.
24.
24. Wow, he's only 24, and he's already had a 100-point season. Holy shit. Good God almighty. God,
100. Just put this into perspective. 105 in 56 games,
and he's only 24. Holy shit! Good God Almighty! Why can't you know what? I think the Flyers really do have their philosophy all wrong. We need to suck for a good 3, 4, 5 years and get a guy like Connor McDavid. God damn it. Why the fuck haven't we tried to suck for a few years? That's I know why, because the Philadelphia fan base is fucking impatient. But anyway, so that's why.
Here, ready? Leon Draisaitl, 25. 84 points in 56 games.
My God. Even that's
these guys are stupid. And that's where the bulk of that's almost 200 points between 2 players. If that's not relying on 2 guys, I don't know what is.
You gotta follow the formula that the Penguins did, where they separated Crosby and Malkin and spread it out that offense. You can still put them together on the power play. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it's completely for the game, but 5-on-5 play, just spreading that offense up in EV time, that could do well to bolster their chances.
Now, I like the fact, too, that, Rod, that you brought up Malkin and Crosby, not Lemieux and Yager. And the simple reason why is the Penguins did that with the salary cap. Right. There was no salary cap back with Lemieux and Yager, so you could have a super team back then. Right. So, very good point right there to bring that up, because even with the salary cap limiting you, they were still able to put really talented teams around them. Well, let's see here. Prism saying Matthews is nowhere near Mario, in my opinion. He'd also said, I'd trade 3 Matthews for Mario. That's interesting. I wonder when we get to the end of Austin Matthews' career, will that comment hold up? It might, because he is playing for Toronto. But
that's tough, because Mario is arguably one of the best players in history.
He is. He is. But, I mean, to be fair, though...
I don't know if I'd trade 3 Austin Matthews. Maybe I would probably trade... I don't know. I don't know if I would do that. Matthews still has a long way to go for me to before I can really say that. And Shane Wright's going to Anaheim. Don, come on, D. Yo, if you had caught last week's show, you know I have Detroit finishing 5th or 6th in their division. I like Detroit's roster. I think Detroit's going to be okay having Alex Nedeljkovic in net.
In prison saying Shane Wright in Detroit will cost me my great nights in the D.
I like where Detroit is, but we're talking Pacific Division, not Atlantic. But just had to get that. I had to put that out there for Don because he missed last week's show.
All right, guys. So let me ask you a question. Where do you see, in my opinion, do you see Edmonton? Brian, you were saying they were taking a step back. Do you think Detroit? Do you think Edmonton slides into maybe like a third place spot or even lower?
I think they go lower. I think Robbie had him in third. I have them in a wild card spot if they even make the playoffs. The lack of depth alone to me is just it's not good enough. They have to figure out ways to have some of these other guys score goals. I think from what I saw outside of Draisaitl, there was a huge gap between points there. 86 to I believe like 30 something. I think that was the next smallest number I saw. It says a lot.
It does.
It says a lot about that organization, and I get what they're trying to do, but they're not necessarily building around McDavid and Draisaitl. They're putting guys in place and relying on McDavid and Draisaitl. To the Crosby and Malkin comparison that Rob made, I think it's a great comparison because one is the yin to the other's yang. But the difference between Pittsburgh and Edmonton is Pittsburgh built around Crosby and Malkin.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like that's what Edmonton is doing.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Seems like Edmonton's just saying, it's like those old cartoons that you would watch, and you'd be in the high school team. It's like, oh, just pass the ball to the one talented kid. That's pretty much what it is. Just pass the puck to McDavid and Draisaitl. That's it.
No, I think that's exactly what it is. It's give the puck to Connor and just let him shoot.
Yeah.
Give the puck to Draisaitl. Let him shoot.
Joey has a question for Rob.
I'm commenting back to the people and looking at porn. Can I multitask?
Why do you think Rob's camera goes off every 5 minutes? He finds a good video.
I stumble across Natalie Ann Lynn's Instagram, and I have to take myself off camera for a minute. Actually, yeah. I'm going to stop myself right there.
To avoid self-incrimination. All right. Moving on.
All right, now you got me curious.
Oh my God, perfect. All right.
What was her name again?
Natalie Ann Lynn. Aileen, actually. ALYN, middle name. Sometimes the third arm hits the camera off button. You know what I mean?
So let's see.
Not her.
No, not her. Brian's like, whoa, what the fuck is that? Let's see here. So let me switch gears here. Oh, God, I don't want to talk about these guys because they just piss me off. But I'm going to have to. Oh, the fucking Sharks. All right, so... Okay, Phillies hit a home run. Anyway, the Sharks... And they just tied the game. The Sharks, at the end of the day, are... what can I say here? They're a team that... They really do need to kind of rebuild, but they just don't. It's like, I know Carlson said outright he doesn't want to be here for a rebuild. It's like, all right then, buy him the fuck out. Just send him on his way because your team's not even making it. You're nowhere near making the playoffs. It's like, why even try and fool anybody by saying you're competitive? You're not competitive. Just fucking rebuild. Do what the other two California teams did and realized, we need to fucking rebuild. Yes, Murray made some dumb mistakes, but at least at the end of the day, he understands where his team is at, At least he gets that. I don't see the Sharks even having a remote possibility of understanding that. It's like, buy Karlsson out. Tell him go anywhere else, man. You want to go win a cup? Go to fucking Vegas. I don't know what to tell you. Go somewhere. Go be with Wild Bill Karlsson. Seriously. Then people can really get confused out there. Like, seriously, just embrace the rebuild. That's all I got to say about the Sharks. They really just need to embrace the fucking rebuild. They have 1 or 2 prospects. That's it. Not much else. It's like, come on, goddammit. And I get it. I know that there are some players that are still around that want to be competitive. I know they were trying to move Hertl. But it's like, you know, it's just frustrating to watch this team just not admit what they need to admit. It's like, admit it. Stop denying it. Seriously.
It's times like these where we're missing Brodo with that Matt Rage alert.
See, this is why I don't talk about the Sharks, because they piss me off. Actually, they were pissing me off more than the Flyers are, and that's actually saying something, because the Flyers usually piss me off way more.
Well, it's easy to understand, man. I mean, a lot of people forget the Sharks fell to the Blues in the 2019 conference final. You know, the downfall has been quick and it's been real.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think the Sharks are really that far off. I really don't think so. I think Marty Jones played a huge effect in the last year, and lack of speed, I think, is another thing that really hurt. I mean, I know guys don't want to go through the rebuild. Karlsson went through most of it with Ottawa. So I kind of get his point. So, yeah, maybe you do buy him out. But my biggest question right now, especially going into this season, is how much is Evander Kane a distraction in the locker room?
Yeah.
Big time.
How much is he a culture killer in that locker room?
Big time.
It's huge.
Another guy that needs to go.
I think he is the biggest issue in that organization, to be completely honest with you. You go out, you get James Reimer, you get Nick Bonino. That's a good face-off guy. He's a good second, third line guy. You get Cogliano. Good on the PK. He's got a lot of speed, so that's a good move as well. You get James Reimer in that. James Reimer's solid. They're going to be a better team than last year, I definitely think. You can only really go up from where they were, to be completely honest with you. I thought they were a bottom tier team. You still have Logan Couture. You still have Tommy Hertl. You have Marc-Andre Vlasic. You still have Brett Burns, Erik Karlsson. You still have talent on that roster. Whatever the hell their problem was last year, they need to just get over it and realize new season, anything can happen. They just need to put it together. I mean, I'm not sure as far as prospects go what they have to look forward to, but maybe make a trade or two early in the season, put yourself in good position. Like I said, I don't think the Sharks are a terrible team. I really don't. I think they could potentially fight for a wild card spot with how they are now. Like I said, they still have the talent. They still have a decent roster on paper.
I mean, on paper, yeah. I have not seen the performances that make me, except for Couture. I'll give Couture credit. Hertl's had his moments. Karlsson, I just don't see what he's done for the Sharks at all, except for the 1 year. And then on top of it as well, Burns, I think he's on the decline. And it's just, I'm looking at a team that's slowly dying. That's what it looks like to me. And Vlasic's been okay. It's just, I'm not very impressed by this team's overall output over the last couple of years. It's kind of making me realize maybe this team needs to embrace a rebuild here. Maybe kind of move on from your team that got to the Cup final. You know, it was fun while it lasted. Fortunately, you guys choked your way out of every single situation. Didn't see a choke job you didn't like. So, you know.
Yeah, Matty. I mean, they're going to really need to depend on that youth movement. I like Bonino. I don't love him. Same thing for Cogliano, and I believe they brought in Merkley as well. I don't think it's going to be enough to make him a playoff team. I think with that youth, they kind of have what the Flyers had not too long ago, where they had a young core but not a lot of team speed overall. You mentioned that point, Maddie. You know, they're a slower team despite being a young team. You know, so I kind of just look at it. I mean, Brian, you very well could be right. I actually have them finishing last behind the Ducks and the Kraken. I really feel that the distraction from Evander Kane is going to be a huge issue, especially if he's not dealt, because several of the teammates came out and said that they do not want him back in that locker room. So, I mean, you'd have to think the team's going to do something about that and get him out of town. But still, I think it's, you know, and if they take care of that, you know, before going into the season, all the better to their, you know, chances. But I just don't think they brought in enough to be contenders yet.
Oh, they're definitely not contenders for sure.
For a playoff spot.
I mean, I personally think they're there. I mean, like I said, Reimer's not a terrible goaltender. You didn't really upgrade there, though. That was more of a lateral move. I mean, I do like the guys they brought in. Nick Merkley was one of those guys who didn't exactly light up the world in Arizona or with the Devils. True. So hopefully he can figure it out in San Jose. And then, like I said, Cogliano and Bonino, they're just good depth guys to have. Like I said, Bonino's going to be huge as far as face-off circle goes, especially on like penalty kill situations, stuff like that. I mean, I don't see them winning a wild card spot, but I do see them winning some games they probably shouldn't.
Now, in my opinion,
them definitely being a competitive team.
Now, in my opinion, do you think that if they made the playoffs, like even if a wild card, do you think that would do more damage than good? That might trick them into thinking that, oh, it's okay, we don't need to make any changes? Like, because, I mean, the Flyers fell into that habit where they would make the playoffs and they would assume, oh, we don't need to make any drastic changes. I mean, hell, Brian, you've been talking about that for the better part of how many weeks now? You think that would be the same ballpark here?
Too many. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think they'll definitely make some changes, especially if they have a pretty decent start. It's too hard to tell right now because, like I said, they do have good pieces in place. I mean, obviously you still have Logan Couture and all those guys. You have your leaders, you have your captain. It's just kind of filling in some of these random spots that I think they're feeling at. They didn't get a lot of depth scoring either. Their power play and their penalty kill was putrid last year. Mm-hmm. So I mean, if they can fix some of those problems early on, make some moves to improve in those areas, I think they will be okay.
All right then. Well, hopefully you're right, Brian. On to Moira's.
A little too optimistic at times for certain teams.
I got you. Hey, listen, though, I hope that the Ducks are in good shape, too. So we'll both be optimistic for each other.
Well, apparently Brodo feels the same way, so.
Yeah. So Moira was saying disagree, but give them a year or two. They could shock some people like the Golden Knights, as referring to our poll question on the Kraken. Prism was throwing out a ghost reference.
What's up, Mo?
Yeah. What's up, Moira?
Oh, what was interesting, I saw Gostisbehere out practicing with Farabee the other day. He's still in the area, so they practiced in the off season together. So that was good to see. You know, maybe possibly for one last time.
But I would have loved to have been able to be there because apparently Ghost was in his Coyotes gear.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So I would have loved to have seen that, just to be able to just sit there and say I watched Ghost skate around in his new digs.
Yeah. Probably the first ever Arizona Coyote to take practice in the skate zone.
Real quick, Brodo, if you're still in here, I think it's pretty much a given that Anaheim is going to finish in last place. And I'm okay with that because if you give us the number one pick, we get a franchise changer in Shane Wright. So I'll take last place for Shane Wright.
When it does become Flyers, Ducks for the Cup Finals, Brodo, you need to come back to us because you're going to add to that fierceness.
Forget that. Let's bring him back now.
That's a good point, actually. Brodo, we do need you here. I mean, no one can bash Ducks better than you.
Nobody bashed me better than him.
You got to do whack a duck here on the hockey happy hour. Don't do
Baby,
that.
come back.
Don't do that in real life. I'm not advocating that in real life, you sick bastards. You know who you are.
Bro,
Anyway.
come back.
So anyway, yeah, so Brodo's comment on that, gentlemen, we're going to really need the Flyers not to tarnish my sanity this season. I hope it doesn't tarnish any of our sanities this season. I'll be very, very hopeful on that. And I'm going to need the Mighty Ducks to finish in last place also. Please and thanks. God bless. Well, thank you. And then Joey saying, my question to you guys is, will Seattle be as good as the Golden Knights when they first came into the league? And that ties into the next team, because moving on from San Jose, since we are following alphabetical now, it's the Kraken. All right, let's answer the question, gentlemen. We had it on the poll. We talked about it a little bit here. I want to get your placement. Where do you think you see the Kraken finishing in this division by the end of this season? 5th for Bry.
5th.
For me, I have them finishing 6 ahead of the Sharks and Ducks.
Right then. For me, I am going to say. Actually, I had them finishing at around. Had them finishing 5th. I think the reason why is I think that from the way it looks, they're going to be a defensive team, and if Grubauer is decent enough in net, I think that that'll be good enough to make them ahead of a couple of teams. Or a few. I don't know if it'll be enough to get them into the playoffs. I don't think it will be. But I think that that's where it is, honestly. At best, I said this before, at best, this team is a wild card. At best.
Yeah. I mean, they got some forward talent there. You know what I mean? Like B-level, maybe James Schwartz, Wimberg, Marcus Johansson. We talked about Giordano, Jordan Eberle, Yanni Gord. Guys that can light the lamp. So, I mean, they're definitely not a collection of cast-offs. Just not quite the Vegas success story yet.
Yeah.
No, and I absolutely agree. There's good pieces in place. I just don't think they're all there yet. Especially in that. I think that's going to be their biggest issue. You have Chris Derringer, however the hell you say his last name, from Florida. Solid goaltender, nothing great. You go out and get Philip Grubauer. Had a good season last year, so solid in net, but nothing. Like I said, nothing that's really going to light the world on fire. You get Vince Dunn. You get a nice young defensive player in Hayden Fleury, who is yet to really break into his form yet. And like the names you brought up, Rob, like they're good names. Like they're in solid shape. I just don't think they're going to be good enough to really beat teams like Edmonton, teams like Calgary, especially Vegas. I don't think they beat Vegas. I mean, if they could surprise a couple people and wind up taking a wild card spot, but I just don't think they're going to be good enough to place higher than 5th. What's up, Adam?
Yo, Adam. What's going on, brother?
You can catch Adam on Kicking It Stateside pretty much every other day.
Yeah.
That's another good show. Another good show from the Hooligans earlier today. You can go back and check on demand.
Yes, sir.
And Brodo does go on to say, well, if you guys have the number 1 pick in the draft, don't draft Ben Simmons, please.
I mean, like Chris said, with Bob Murray, he'll mess it up.
Well, Big Ben with his socks and slippers on out on the West Coast.
I mean, he took Mason McTavish over a couple other guys. I'm not upset with the Mason McTavish pick, but I wouldn't have gone for him.
This is why I don't follow basketball anymore, man. Basketball's a bunch of bitches. They're just bitches, dude. They're just straight up fucking bitches. And Ben Simmons is a quintessential example.
Soft.
Yeah.
So Prism saying if I'm doing any death metal vocals, I'll save that for the season. So I'll save that for the season, and I'll just have to. I'll let you, Brian, Rob. I'll let you guys pick what if a player scores. I have to do the death metal vocals when they fucking score. That'll be my sentence. It'll be my cross to bear for the season.
Bunch of bitches. Here's some more bitches for you right here.
Yeah, there you go. Them bitches lost in the first round because of a goalie error. Prism, Prism saying, I like McTavish. I wanted him for Chicago.
No, for sure. Like I'm not saying that it was a bad pick to take Mason McTavish. He just wasn't who I wanted at 3. I thought there was better, but apparently, I mean, again, I do this and I cook for a living. I'm not a scout or anything, so obviously Anaheim saw something about Mason that they liked.
Yeah, but
absolutely, Adam.
yeah, stick taps definitely for Jimmy Hayes. Sadly, passing away at 31 years old. That I don't even think they ever determined the cause of death, even after the autopsy. You know,
I don't think they're going to announce it, which I'm okay with.
That's fine. You know, respect the privacy of the family and everything. That's totally understandable. And as for, you know, it's a sad time for not just Kevin Hayes, who's, you know, of course on the Flyers and his family, but for the whole hockey world. You know, it's tough to see anyone die, you know, and hockey world's had a lot of tragic deaths in recent days. And, you know, all I could say is that rest in peace and best wishes to the family.
Yeah, but just don't get Prism started. Just don't get Prism started.
Oh yeah, I know. We know whose fault it is, right, Pris? But no, I mean, I feel for the family. They, you know, Kevin and everyone have been through so much. You know, not only with untimely death of his brother, but just overall in general. It's been a hard time. But you know what? Sometimes getting out and playing the game you love, you know, it heals all wounds. You know, or at least, you know, distracts the mind.
And just seeing the way that the hockey community came together for Jimmy and all these other guys, I'm sure, you know, it's comforting for their family to know that how many people he touched in a positive light, especially, you know, Patrick Maroon was on IG or something earlier talking about a story about how he first met Jimmy and how he, you know, was like saying how he was going through stuff and all this other, and then Jimmy just kind of took him under his wing and just helped him. Like Jimmy Hayes, from what I hear from a lot of people, was just a very good, positive, lighthearted guy, and I would have loved to meet him.
In another life, my friend, in another life.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. But best wishes to him and his family, and condolences, of course. And, you know, hopefully, yeah, it would be nice to see Kevin Hayes on first goal of the season, you know, see him kind of give a tribute out to his brother. That'd be nice. But, all right. We go on to our next team on the list and our final team for the review, because we did talk about the Golden Knights earlier. So our final team, the Vancouver Canucks. So this is going to be an interesting team, and I would actually keep an eye on them because I think that depending upon how they do, we might determine how we see the division panning out. Because if Vancouver has a bounce back year, they could conceivably be in one of the top 3 spots, maybe a wild card, depending upon how they do. Now, like I said, though, they should have a bounce back year because, you know, they got OEL, which, you know, was a big trade from Arizona. I believe they won that deal. And on top of it, and they still have a ton of talent on this team. I think a lot of it was, you know, it is a young team. They can be streaky too, and they were definitely streaky last year. Also, Braden Holtby as their goaltender did not pan out. I'm wondering how that's going to go with them, with Demko and the rest, you know. But, gents, what do you think about Vancouver? How do you think they pan out this year in this division?
I think it's really going to depend on, you know, do they re-sign Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes? I mean, that's going to be quintessential for this team, getting them locked down, because otherwise, yes, they good acquisitions, Matty. You know, definitely. You know, they gave up a bunch of, you know, trio of depth forwards. They gave up nothing and added those 2 gentlemen you said, plus Jason Dickinson. But Nate Schmidt's going to be a loss. Alex Edler's going to be a loss. I don't think Luke Shen, old friend Luke Shen, is going to be the answer. It's safe to say. I mean, they did ink Halak, to serve as a backup to Thatcher Demko. So I mean, I like that. I think it's a little stronger in terms of that tandem, which you're going to need with the Olympic break. I think they do take a step back. I think I would say probably fourth in the division, potential, if not secure, wild card position.
Okay.
I mean, I think they're good. I think they definitely have a rebound year. But to Rob's point, it's all Pedersen and Hughes have to get their contracts have to get done, and they have to get done within the next week or so. Which is actually really funny because I said last week Carolina's got to get the Andrei Svechnikov deal done, and they did. So hopefully, if I can put this positive juju out to Vancouver, they get theirs done. Because, like I said, they're going to need to lean heavily on those two again, especially on special teams. Bringing in Yaroslav Halak is huge for Demko, for him to take the next step. I think they wind up actually platooning them because Halak did have a very solid year last year. Who else did we talk about? Luke Shen, probably not going to be huge moving forward. Not a real impact player. I think one guy that could be a real impact player that they brought back is Travis Hamonic. You do lose Nate Schmidt, which hurts. You lose Alex Edler, that hurts. But you do bring back Travis Hamonic, so that does help a little bit on the defensive side. But they have to get better on special teams. They have to figure out ways. They lost games the same way the Phillies do, just by figuring out new and creative ways to lose. So they need to stop doing that. I think they do have a bounce back year. I think they are a very good team. I do think they compete for a wild card.
All right, then.
I think they got to stop playing the Montreal Canadiens so much, which they will. Naturally.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too with some of these teams is, these teams saw each other 7-8 times. Like that schedule last year did not benefit a lot of teams.
Right. You can't really judge so much on that. I'm speaking from 19, but in general, I don't know, with Vancouver, which would be great to see. If they can, put forward a solid effort and potentially, you have Seattle coming into the team, and that's going to be the natural rivalry there, right? Seattle, Vancouver, USA versus Canada, right across the bay, right? So, and I think they're going to be competing right in that 4, 5, 6 area. You know what I mean? So, I do root for them because I'd like to see that, and that'd be good for the expansion team, good for the league.
Yeah. It would be fun, if that rivalry, has some heat and has some fire to it very early. So with that, all right. So we're looking at a wild card finish for Vancouver as their outcome there. And, as far as I can see with Vancouver, we already know what kind of team they are. What we saw in the bubble was a preview of what this team can be, and unfortunately, I think they definitely, when they lost Markstrom, that didn't help anything. And to be fair, Markstrom didn't have a great year with Calgary the following year. So even if they had kept him, what's to say that would have gone well for them anyway in that previous season? So there's a number of factors that you can take into there. But we know what this Vancouver team is. What we saw in that bubble, that's what this Vancouver team can be. We know that this team can be a scary team with a lot of young talent that they have. And at the same time, too, they also, like you said, they've got to re-sign it. And also bringing in some decent acquisitions here and there, maybe this team can have that bounce back year and get themselves back into the playoffs. And a chance for them to start, not anew, but kind of get their footing back under them after, falling on their ass this past season. All right. So that will take care of the Pacific Division breakdown. Should be an interesting year for the division. Obviously, the favored team going into this year is Vegas, as it normally is. Obviously, we'll have to keep our eyes on teams like Edmonton, see how they do this year. See if maybe, if anything, this team shows even the slightest bit of decency and consistency outside of Draisaitl and McDavid. And then, obviously look at Calgary, see if they have a bounce back year, and Vancouver, see if they have a bounce back year. And then see where the Kings are at in terms of their progression. See if the Ducks can, continue rebuilding, but rebuild in the right direction, and then, of course, how will the Kraken do? How will their first season go for them? And then will the Sharks be a decent team at best? That's their best, is a decent team. Anyway, there's a lot of interesting questions and a lot of interesting stories to take a look at in terms of the Pacific Division. Wonder how that will result in terms of the playoffs. Hopefully, maybe somebody will shock Vegas. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway.
I'm kind of messing around with some things right now. Kind of messing around with the final standings as far as like my predictions go. I think the top three is pretty simple there. Adam, that's an understatement. If I've ever seen one in my life. An understatement. That is definitely an understatement.
There you go, bro. You can thank me later. I just sent you something.
Oh, all right.
Okay, all right. Because that wasn't even close to how I spelled her name before. All right, so my final standings, I'm doing this just for myself. If you guys want to jump in and do this, you guys can.
Sure.
So I got Vegas in first, which I think is the general consensus. I do have Calgary finishing second. I did change up a couple things here. I have Edmonton third. I am going to go Seattle fourth.
Okay.
Vancouver fifth. LA sixth. Sharks 7, Ducks 8.
All right, then. For me, Vegas will be 1. I don't see anybody taking the division away from them and keeping it. I would say second place will most likely. This one's a little interesting. I'm going to throw. You know what? If they do re-sign Hughes and the rest, I'll throw Vancouver in there just for the fuck of it. I will then throw in I'll throw Calgary in third, and I'll have Edmonton sneaking in on a wild card, just barely. So only one non-Canadian team in the entire division makes the playoffs.
Interesting. I like it. Yeah. I think Vegas takes the division. I'm a little more hopeful for the Oilers. I got them in 2. Calgary 3. Canucks 4. They could slip there, and especially depending on 2 things: those signings, Maddie, and also the Kings' progression. Because I could see the Kings sneak in there, make some noise for a wild card.
True.
Then I said the Kraken, respectable 6th place finish because of those free agent signings and dealings after the expansion draft. They did well to really improve their team for, not only the future, but for a little bit for the here and now. They got Brian's Ducks in 7th, and your Sharks in 8th, man.
And Prism, he's got Vegas 1, Vancouver 2, Edmonton 3, and the Kings 4.
I could see Vancouver possibly finding a way to squeak into the division spot.
Yeah. I could see that. I could totally see that. And we got Benny's Nation saying, yo, you guys are throwing me off with this schedule. If you don't love me anymore, just tell me. No, we still love you, Benny.
We told you guys when we were moving.
Yeah. Benny, there's all love here, brother. We still love you. We're going on at 8 now on Tuesdays.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We want to come a little. That's how much we love you. We want to come a little earlier, not keep you up. You guys always got to pass out for work. Now, especially during the season for live reactions on Tuesday Night Hockey, coming on at 8 o'clock. We still might go to midnight. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a lot of hockey going on. You know what I mean? But I don't know about that. But hey, close to it.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm
And
just
we're closer
excited we
to
don't have to
happy
compete
hour.
with football.
Chin-dog. Cheers.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now we don't have to compete with the NFL, so
That too.
we'll be a little bit more open for hockey on Tuesday nights.
That's true. Even when we were doing shows on Thursday nights, if there was a Thursday night football game that involved the Eagles, we were doing Tuesday night anyway. So like,
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, it's like what are we going to beat a live show reaction to the Eagles? Fuck no. Even when the Flyers are at their best, like if leading the fucking division, they're still not beating the Eagles. I hate to say it, but it's true. Anyway,
Keep your mouth shut, Matty.
what? I said
Don't
the
you talk
Eagles.
about the Eagles. You're
I didn't say
talking smack.
anything bad about the Eagles. I said the Flyers couldn't even keep up with them even at their best. Didn't say anything
You're
bad
talking
about them
smack.
at all.
You're talking smack.
Uh-huh.
He was just reading my mind.
Yeah. I did see the Eagles schedule too. They're facing Dallas, like I think game 2. So there you go. There's something to keep your eyes open for. That should be fun.
Let's get through Atlanta first, and then we'll worry about that.
Calvin
And-
Ridley all day. Let's go. Let's go. I got him everywhere in fantasy. I think he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver this year. Let's go.
I am discussing a trade for Deebo Samuel at the moment,
Okay.
and then I might actually try and get Jacoby Meyer off of him. I kind of like who's throwing him the ball now.
Yeah.
Rob,
Yeah,
your brother
Joe.
asking.
Indeed it is. But we're on an earlier time slot now. It felt like morning, so I felt like I'd have a little Bloody Mary.
All right. So, any other big happenings you want to throw out there from the NHL, boys, before we wrap this some bitch up?
Oh yeah, there's definitely one we need to talk about.
All right, then let's get into it.
Jesperi Kotkaniemi getting an offer sheet from the Carolina Hurricanes,
Oh, yeah. That's true, actually.
getting a 1-year offer sheet for I think it's like 6.125 or something like that, with a $20 signing bonus.
I just love that. I love
It's
that.
a complete slap in the face.
I
You know why
know.
they're doing it, right?
Yeah. It's a shame, too, because Kotkaniemi is actually a good player. That's the shame of it, really.
And he's young. He's only 20. I think he's going to be 22 or 23 this year.
I'll be honest
He
with
still
you.
has a huge ceiling.
I'll be honest with you. If with all this situation going on, for what the fucking Hurricanes did, I would have just said, why don't the Flyers just throw him a fucking offer sheet since Fletcher's fucking throwing money around like it's going out of style? Fuck it. After what Kotkaniemi did in that one playoff game, like, I'll fucking take Kotkaniemi. I could use that fire on the Flyers. Fuck it. I don't give a shit.
But yeah, because of what happened with Sebastian Aho and Montreal offering him a sheet,
Yeah.
they're doing the same thing now with Kotkaniemi. I think it's pretty spiteful, and I love every second of it. Because if Carolina does wind up getting him, I think he's going to pay huge dividends being on that roster.
Absolutely, man. Dude, if that's the case, boy, I hope Montreal makes the playoffs, and I hope Carolina meets them there. That would be nice. Unfortunately, for them to do that, Carolina would have to either win the Metropolitan Division or would have to get out of the Metropolitan Division. So I kind of hope it doesn't happen. That means we didn't get any further. But still, though, boy, would that be a fun playoff series if those two teams met after this shit going on in the offseason.
Wait, Carolina's in the. I thought the Carolina was in the Atlantic.
No. They're in the Metro, if I stand correct. Because Columbus, I believe. Oh, no, Columbus is in the Metro. Detroit's in the
Columbus is in
Atlantic.
Metro. Detroit's in the Atlantic.
Yeah, Detroit's in the Atlantic. Let me
Pretty
double
sure
check
we
that.
discussed the Carolina Hurricanes last week.
We might have. God damn it. How am I forgetting? Oh, well, hold on. Let me double check that.
Benny said Metro. I trust Benny. Oh, well. We discussed Carolina last week. It is what it is.
Gives us one less team to talk about when we get to the Metropolitan Fish.
I'm sitting there going through this. I'm like, I feel like I'm talking about a lot of teams tonight.
Now you know why.
I had one extra in there.
It's all 8 apiece now.
Nice and even. But yeah, I mean, I love it. I love when the NHL does spiteful things because they did something else before. And do you guys know the reference to the $20?
I do not know the reference though. The $20 actually.
Sebastian Aho's number.
I love it. I love it.
Also,
If Carolina takes KK, I'm be perturbed.
I don't blame you. He's a potential featured captain for Montreal, in my opinion. But you know, I would love to see Kakaniemi in Carolina. I think he did disappear in the offseason. He did wind up being a healthy scratch the last 2 games of the Stanley Cup final, but I think a change of scenery would be a good thing for him.
First of all, so young foreigner in the South screams deliverance. Bry, since you are a foreigner in the South.
No foreigner in the South. What the hell are you talking about?
you're a hillbilly over there.
Hey,
Not
wait,
sure what he's trying to say over there.
Hey, try to give it to us. We waited 2 whole weeks before we made that joke. So,
how am I a foreigner? Explain that one to me. That's the one I'm
you're
confused
from
about.
the north, you're going to the south. It's like 2 different nations, basically, within the states.
The group of people or the band? Because, I mean, that could be a good thing or a bad comparison.
Well, the band, yeah, that's a totally different ballpark. Yeah, totally.
But I'm confused on how I'm a foreigner because I'm an American citizen, at least last time I checked.
Yeah, but you're from the north of the country, not the south.
That doesn't. I'm still from. It's the same country.
Yeah, but it's
if I went to
different people.
Canada, I would be a foreigner.
It's nicer people down south than in the north. So it's two very different places.
Of course, it's very 2 different places, but it's the same country. I'm not a foreigner.
Maybe Matty needs to take geography in that old school of his.
Oh, come on. No one takes.
So.
Everybody, see PC bullshit again, all coming all over again. No one can take a joke.
Benny hit the mark there. I'm a Yank in the South.
Yeah.
I'm not a foreigner. Foreigner would be mean I'm from another country. If I went to live in Mexico, yeah, I'm a foreigner. If I went to Britain, I'm a foreigner. If I went to Asia, I'm a foreigner. I'm in the same country, bitch.
If you went to Canada, you would be also a foreigner too. That's
what I said, didn't I?
No, you said Mexico. Maybe that's me. I mean, I understand
another country. Yeah, it would be absolutely be a foreigner.
Prism said he needs to take security everywhere.
Oh, not down here, dude. People are awesome down here.
And Prism said, "Where's your Richard Petty mural?"
You are bringing middle NASCAR country. That is true.
Oh my god!
Not even the NASCAR side. The NASCAR track's on the other side of the state.
Yeah.
And Joey's like, it's like North Jersey versus South Jersey.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Oh,
no, absolutely.
Brian, to most Southerners, anyone above the Mason-Dixon line is a G.
Yeah, that seems about right.
I think he also meant a foreigner too on top of that. And then Benny's saying, we're all God's children.
I love it.
I love it, Benny. We are all God's children. That's right.
Kakaniemi can join that if he winds up going to Carolina. So there you go. So I guess Aho joins the Heathens up in Montreal if he Oh, anyway.
Infidels.
Well, actually, no. I think that's reserved for Flyers fans, honestly. Anyway. All right. So with that, though, yeah. So that's some funny little news coming out of the NHL. Gotta love spiteful shit going everywhere here. Getting some hot-blooded hatred feelings going on before the regular season. I mean, it is 2 Eastern Conference teams. They are going to meet 4 times. If they won't meet 6 because they're not in the same division, but they will at least meet 4 times. So there you go.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like I said, there's going to be some surprise teams in here. I think Vancouver rebounds. I think Edmonton's is going to be par for the course. Calgary, I think, definitely rebounds. It's going to be a fun division. I think we see LA take steps forward. I think we see Anaheim take a couple steps forward. But ultimately, this is Vegas's division to lose.
Absolutely. So there we have it, folks. Rob, did you have any news bulletins you wanted to throw out there from the NHL?
Nah, boys, you brought him up with Brassy getting signed and Coots extension. Congratulations, Sean Couturier. In case you missed that, signed 8-year. What was it, $69 million deal extension that will begin after this season. Upon completion, would bring him, to 37, 38 years old. And just something that really hasn't happened in Flyers history and very rare in NHL history, where you have a teenager get drafted and be with one organization all the way through. It's special. He's a special player, 200-foot player. Free agents would have been going after him and being very sought after. So I'm glad that the Flyers were able to find a way in this Flat Cup era to lock him down now. I don't know if that necessitated it being backloaded a little bit, boys, but Coots is a good player and will be a future captain of this Flyers team.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Just in case anybody's curious about the Women's World Championship right now, United States, Canada playing for the gold medal. Remain tied at 2-2 with 5 minutes remaining in the gold medal game.
Go USA.
I'm going to see what channel. Let me see if that's – I don't get the NHL Network now.
Oh. Well, that sucks.
Anyway. But yeah, back to Coots. I think it's a well-deserved contract. I think it's a very team-friendly contract. So good for him. Like Rob was saying, I do think he's the future captain of this organization once G's gone. So good for him. Definitely congratulations. It's definitely well-deserved, well-earned. He's a top 5 two-way player. Very, 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 very shut-down center. Shuts down the best in the game. I'm all about it. So congrats to Coots and congrats to Broussard for figuring out a way to find his way to the team.
Yeah.
By the way, another assistant captain in the Flyers uniform.
Which is perfect for leadership reasons. So, all right then. So that will pretty much do it for this edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We broke down the Pacific Division. Next week, we will take care of the Central, wrap up the West in a nice little pretty bow. And then after that, we finish up with the home division, the worst division in the NHL, the fucking Metropolitan Division, that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse for you to be in. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us. From all of us here, we hope you guys have a very fun and safe weekend when it rolls around. And also you have a very fun and safe work week. Yes, try to have fun at your job if you can. Even if you have an asshole boss, just try to have some fun. Maybe
also, correct me if I'm wrong, have a very happy and safe Labor Day weekend as well.
I do believe you are correct.
I was about to share those same sentiments that, being that we won't be on until that, it's weird getting used to this now. You know what I mean? Tuesday nights or whatever, and wishing a happy weekend early. But yeah, absolutely. Enjoy if you could be off, take off, spend some time with family. I want to give it a shout out. I'm coming off of a time period where I had off. I had to take it a week before because crunch time coming in the DFS world. But I got a chance to be with a real good friends of mine, this fantasy football league that we are now in our 15th year of existence. Always do live drafts of a big draft party. So I want to give a shout out to rip off, a former show on this network. I'll give a shout out to the Higher Rollers, another fantabulous time, great food, good booze, feisty women. It was just good times, boys. Again, and next year we're talking about doing it in Vegas. Let's go.
Oh, that sounds like a good time.
That does. Ooh. Hey, you know what they say? What happens in Vegas? No, it doesn't stay in Vegas. Everybody takes that shit with them.
Especially gonorrhea. Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh, the gift that keeps on giving, man. It's a beautiful thing. All right. On to
I repeat. Oh my.
Reportedly, I don't know personally.
Reportedly.
Reportedly. Oh, God. All right, so let's see here. To our sponsors for the show. Speaking of, taking some time off, having some time with some family, you got a bit of a long weekend. Maybe you take advantage of going down to the shore one last time before, the cold weather starts rolling in the fall and then coming in the winter. Hopefully the remnants of Ida will be gone by then. Hopefully it didn't do any real damage. And if it didn't, you can go down to Ocean City Grilled Cheese and Quesadilla Company, located at 8th and Ocean Ave. 16 different kinds of grilled cheese on toasty Texas sourdough bread, and you can use promo code A2D for 10% off of your order if you want to head on down to the beach. Get some last-minute beach time in before it's time to say goodbye for another year. And let's see here.
Summer goes to the end of September, bitches. Let's go.
And, of course, we talked about All Campus OC. Once again, 20% off of everything in the store, including hats, shirts, and team cornhole sets for the subscribers. Once again, one more quick shout-out to John Coyle, who's the man. And anybody out there who's struggling with any kind of mental health or addiction issues, we do have supporting the Counseling Center and Sunrise Detox. If you need to get any kind of help or you have a loved one that needs to get any kind of help, call 856-651-8117. We don't want to see you go through that, and we definitely don't want to see a loved one go through that. Just make that call. Don't let things spiral out of control, because that can send you into a tailspin, and it takes years to recover from errors and mistakes like that. So get the help now before it's too late. And if you want to support this show and you want to support the entire A2D family, right, where can they go to do that?
Head on over to PhillyDrinkers.com. That's Philly Drinkers LLC. You can get all kinds of great merch like this hoodie, like the zip-up hoodie I'll usually wear during the fall as well. All kinds of great hats. We also had just released a new shirt. We got the mustache shirt for Gardner Minshew being traded to Philadelphia. So that's available at PhillyDrinkers.com. All kinds of great stuff over there. That's Philly Drinkers LLC. That's PhillyDrinkers.com.
Minshew-Adelphia. Here it comes.
Mm-hmm. By the way, if you guys are in the market to find a watch, just to keep track of things every once in a while, or just to look flashy because, sometimes you just want to impress, you need one, go visit latouraine.com and use the promo code A2D for 10% off. So, hey, man, nothing says flash like a nice watch. You get that nice little shine right there, and everybody's like, oh, okay. That motherfucker's got some money.
No, I've seen it. I've been to the website. They got some really, really sharp looking stuff over there. So definitely check them out if you're in need of a new watch or just a watch in general. I know everybody's out for the smart stuff, but you need a simple watch. Head on over.
And for the jewelry and appraisal, business, 10% off. That's a sizable discount.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. And on to Specialized Physical Therapy, Dr. Paul Vidal, Cherry Hill, Burlington, New Jersey. Bry, before he went down to South Carolina, his shoulder was bothering them, and he went North Carolina, my bad. Why did I say South? I don't know why. Anyway, Specialized Physical Therapy.
You're still thinking North and South. You're still stuck in the Civil War, Manny. I think you're a reincarnated soldier that was killed by his own troops.
What, I accidentally flew the mast of the Confederate flag instead of the Union. They shot me on sight. Anyway, so back to Specialized Physical Therapy. Before Brian made his big move down south, he had some problems with his shoulder, and he needed to get that taken care of. And he went to the doc, and they did a really good job with him.
Yep, go check out Allie. She's over in Burlington. I think she's still there. And then go check out Carrie in Cherry Hill. They both did a great job. He's our doc. He's my doc. Definitely make him yours.
All right, then. And if you are looking to make a move like Brian did, or if you're looking to buy, sell your home, or changing career in brokerage, Alan Foy, eXp Realty LLC, that's the place to go. You can give him a call at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy at exprealty.com. That's a big step. You want to do it right. He's the guy to go to make sure it's done right. So keep that in mind. And to finish things up, ladies, gentlemen, especially you gentlemen out there, you want to impress the gals, you need confidence. And one of the things that's definitely going to give you confidence is getting rid of what, Brian?
It's your junk funk.
Absolutely. You don't want that. You don't want that rolling around trying to get the ladies. So, A2D has an answer for that. You can get 20% off with the A2D code at Manscaped. And there's also a couple of gifts that are going out along with that. They have a shed travel bag. They also have boxers available for you guys. So, just saying, they got some extra incentives to take a look. And plus also, the tools that have the trade are very, very well done. And they speak for themselves. The results are perfect. All right, then.
They absolutely are.
And our final sponsor, of course, is our show sponsor. Listen, at the end of the day, life sometimes, it can go crazy and it may be hard to focus and get things in perspective. Body Check Wellness, A2D, 25% off of your order. They sponsor our show, created by none other than Riley Cote, former Flyers and Phantom Enforcer. And believe me, he advocates for it, and there's a good reason why he advocates for it, because it really does help. Rob will tell you, it helped him a lot, getting that focus, that clarity, and that balance in life.
Yeah, I just picked up a new package too, a new setup for for my focus and clarity, as well as trying a couple of the other products as well. The gummies are great for keeping up energy. Certainly reducing anxiety. I mean, fully admit, anxiety and depression have not been a friend of mine. I battled that in my life, and I'm really seeing a difference by utilizing supplements for Body Check Wellness. Highly recommend it to you guys as well. Their vitamin D extract too. A lot of good energy there. Yeah, especially we're indoors a lot, these days. You know what I mean? At least working from home, I am a lot. So, I miss out on some of the sun rays. I mean, I caught up a little bit on this past week, but, certainly. But, go hit them up. Everything's there, bodycheckwellness.com.
All right, then. So that'll do it for this edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We thank you all for joining us once again. We love you guys. Keep supporting us. Keep supporting A2D. And we keep supporting you guys, because that's how much we love you. And we will see you guys next week when we break down the Central Division. Be very interesting to see how we believe that one will shake out. Keep your eyes on that one. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and CDC is asking you guys to wear masks. I know, it sucks balls that you got to do it again, but hey, listen, keep others safe, keep your family safe, do it. Don't be that pain in the ass. Just do it. I know. But anyway, we'll see you guys next week right here on A2DRadio.com. Peace and love, everyone.